Hello and welcome to Matt Minich's Bengals Chalk Talk here on Orange and Black Insider. I am your host, as always, Matt Minich. Wish I could say I was happy to be here today, but after that Monday night, it is really tough to look at any of this stuff. So unfortunately, that's what we got to do. That's what we do is we go down, we break down film, we try and figure out how to get better. And this may be a particularly depressing episode because here we're going to talk about the 8 sacks that the Bengals gave up on Monday night in their Week 4 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you were listening on the podcast, if you downloaded the podcast, I will get into the description and tell you exactly what's going on. If you do have a chance to check it out on YouTube, there is video with the YouTube as well. So that gives you a little bit something extra. You can kind of put all the pieces together really on what's going on and see what is in front of you and really kind of take a look at some things for yourself before I even get into my breakdown. All right, so I'm going to let this first play. Now, this isn't actually the first play, but I'll let you take a look at it, and we will get into it in just a second. All right, so this is a play. I want to start with this. This is not the first sack, and I'm going to go mostly chronological, but I'm skipping forward to the third quarter for this one. We're going to look at this first. This is a play that I tweeted out a video clip of this, and it got a lot of reaction. And basically, I was saying, hey, if Uzomah is man-to-man with TJ Watt in pass protection, that's the coach's problem. That's not Uzomah's problem. And I got a lot of people, I got some people blaming Dalton. Dalton's checking the play, but guess what? He's got Zach Taylor in his ear. And he's not really ultimately in charge of what the protections look like. And really the biggest thing, though, was a lot of Bobby Hart hate. Bobby Hart did not have a good game. Bobby Hart gave up a sack, gave up some sacks and could have given up more if other players hadn't. However, this one is not on Bobby Hart. So we'll talk a little bit about why. Now, starting with the left side of the line, okay, Andre Smith is the left tackle. He steps to the inside. He's looking at the edge player, and the edge player actually goes to the inside. So that reveals that he is in man protection. All right, so it's pretty obvious there. He's not kick stepping or anything. He steps right to the inside with that guy. And that guy's not coming too hard. He is, for the most part, able to pick it up. All right. The left guard, Michael Jordan, he has got a 2-eye. All right, a player lined up on his inside shoulder in a 2-eye technique. So he steps to that player. Hopkins, the center, steps to that player as well, but really just throws a hand out, and he is looking up, to the linebacker depth and really to pick up something coming across. So he is not, that is not his designated man. He's kind of looking to help out. And then we actually do get a stunt. So the 3 technique, who's lined up outside of the right guard, Miller, he stunts hard to the inside. Miller, lowers his shoulder, kind of bowls down with him, tries to kind of push him along through. And Hopkins ends up getting involved in that block as well. Now, here is what everybody was commenting on my Twitter mentions this week. Bobby Hart steps down, and yep, he blocks nobody. All right, so he blocks nobody, and then he turns to look at his outside gap. So, we see a little bit of this, and this is essentially, similar to what Hopkins is doing over there. He's uncovered. He doesn't have a man. He steps to the left, and then he looks back, ends up helping out with that 3 technique. And Hart steps, doesn't have anything, and wheels back around. Now, could he have helped out CJ Uzama? No. Watt is rushing the outside. So, is it possible to work a double team on a pass rusher? Yeah, we're seeing him on this play. But if Hart was working a double team with Uzama, he would be playing Watt to the inside. Watt stays to the outside. There is nothing that Hart could do. Even if that was his intent right away, was to help on a double team, there's nothing he could do here. So we'll see in other plays where Uzama releases, or the tight end releases, and the tackle's going to pick up the defensive end. That's a completely different story. You can tell Hart that he's blocking that guy and release Uzama, but he can't be on the outside of the double team. The only thing that you could really do to help Uzama out here would be using Mixon and kind of chip off on him. But, there's play action going in the other direction, so that's not going to work on this one. So on Uzama, right, he's not an offensive lineman. So he kind of turns and opens himself up and really makes a short corner. He's not, if he kick stepped, if he knew how to kick step, I don't even know if he knows how to kick step, but if he kick stepped and made it a longer edge, he'd be putting himself in a better position. But he's got a really wide base, and he's just kind of turning and opening it up, and Watt's coming around for the sack. All right, so that's a Watt sack and a loss of 5. So this was in the third quarter. They had actually gotten a couple of first downs, and we're starting to put something together. And now then they come out and first down, and they give up a sack, go to second 15. What happens on second 15? It's a penalty. All right, moves it to second and 20. And then there's another sack, which we'll talk about later, on third down. So this is how they derail themselves. This is how they cause themselves problems. All right. So now back in the first quarter. All right. Back in the first quarter, the Bengals came out in their first drive. They got a couple of first downs. All right. Which is better than they were doing early in the Bills game a week ago. So that's good. But then what happens? They get down, they get in the Steelers territory. They've got 2nd and 5, and they give up a sack. And it completely derails the drive, because this is not a team that can convert 3rd and 14. All right. This is a team, that's going to throw screens on those downs and pick up a couple yards and punt, because they do not trust their pass protection to protect the quarterback when they absolutely have to. And without John Ross, they're really not going to be picking up these long yardage things. About the best thing they had going for them. So this is actually the same protection that we had looked at on the previous play. So starting again on the left side, Andre Smith. Okay, he's man. He is actually going to look at the down lineman. The widest down lineman is lined up inside of him. Pre-snap, he's talking to Jordan. They're kind of communicating about it. That guy steps to the outside, and Smith picks him up. All right, Jordan steps to the outside, to that B gap, looking to pick that guy up if he's screaming through. Doesn't happen. What does he do? He turns back, gets a little bit of a push on the nose tackle Hopkins' guy, all right, to help him out. But not too much there. Really kind of ends up working back out, trying to help see if Smith's guy's going to work back in. All right, so Hopkins has a tilted one technique on the opposite side, on the right-hand side. All right. So tilts, a lot of times they're coming across. All right. So he should really be aware of that. And that's what he gets. So Hopkins is aware of this guy coming across his face, steps to him, stays with him when he comes across. Does a pretty good job there. Like I said, a little bit of help from Jordan. At the right guard position, John Miller. All right. John Miller steps to the outside, really. He's got basically kind of a double team situation going on here with Bobby Hart, where that guy is a 4. All right. It's a 4 technique, really lined up heavy, directly head up on Hart. All right. So Miller does a good job with this. I mean, that guy comes inside, and he's playing tight with it. He's playing strong with it. Now, Hart is not. Hart gets way too involved, throws his shoulder into it. All right. And what happens? We get a linebacker coming through that C cap. And actually, I believe I tweeted that out as well. I said, well, what are they going to do when a linebacker goes through the C gap? And that's just what happened here. So they get Devin Bush screaming through. Hart is completely unaware, but he's the guy who's got to tilt back for this. So this is a play Hart can make. This is what Hart needs to do. Now, not only is it he can help, he can do this. This is his job. He needs to pick up this blitz, and he doesn't. So this sack, 1,000%, this sack is on Bobby Hart. Uzama again in a man-to-man situation with Watt. Watt is taking that edge on him easy. And if Hart blocks Bush, Watt's making that sack. So really the sack was credited, against Bobby Hart, but Uzoma just as bad here. That's a critical error if I'm grading this film, because he's essentially allowing a sack. He got lucky that somebody else's man got there first. All right, so here, the Bengals had a couple 3-and-outs, and then they actually put together another drive. They were moving pretty well down the field. Once again, they get into Pittsburgh territory. Now, they're in the red zone, all right? They've already blown it in the red zone once earlier in this game, and now here, facing 1st and 10 on the Pittsburgh 18, we have another sack. And worse than that, we have a strip sack. So when you get into the red zone, you got to protect the football. You have got to come away with at least 3 points here. All right. They're not good at turning these red zone trips into 7 points, but you have to come away with at least 3 points. And that's not what's happening here. That's not what they get. So starting with the right-hand side, and we'll look at Hart first here. All right. Hart. Really, they've got like a half zone, half man kind of scheme going on here. So Hart's stepping to the outside. He is looking for Watt. Watt's lined up wide. CJ Uzama's out there a little bit wider. Watt's out over him. Uzama is releasing into a route, though. All right. So he's looking for Watt. Watt stunts to the inside, though. All right. So now they've got a defensive lineman who's lined up just inside of the tackle in a 4-eye, and he works to the edge. So Hart does an all right job on him. He picks it up. Now Watt's coming to the inside. So John Miller sets to this 4-eye, and then he just gets way too involved in it. He's got to see that this thing is going wide and pass it off to Hart. He doesn't, and that allows Watt to come around him. Hopkins does a great job on this play, actually. He is first looking to help out on the backside, on the 2-eye with Michael Jordan, probably aware of the rookie there, but he sees Watt coming around. So he's got his hand there. He's staying to that backside. There is a big gaping hole there for Watt to come screaming through. And Hopkins really just sacrifices his body. He kind of lunges out and just gets in Watt's way and slows him down. Now, would it have been enough if he had to hold him any longer? I don't know. But, he did a great job of trying to get there and saving and preventing, the immediate knockout blow that was coming to Andy Dalton. Michael Jordan, as I said, he's got the 2-eye on him from the left guard position. And in that spot, he's stepping to him. He is getting pushed back pretty severely. So his anchor is a repetitive problem that we're going to talk about more and more as this thing goes on. But he is getting pushed back from that defensive tackle. And then finally, the left tackle is Andre Smith. Andre Smith has a real wide rusher, Bud Dupree. He steps out to him, doesn't kick step, doesn't gain depth. He steps out to him, and that allows Dupree to come screaming around this edge. So just terrible technique, what he's trying to do. And, at the end, he kind of puts his face into it a little bit. He's not using his arms, not trying to use length at all. And again, not kick stepping and creating a wider angle for Dupree to have to come around. And that's a strip sack. That's the drive. And I mean, that was the story of the game. Giving up things like that, killing drives with sacks, and screwing up in the red zone is this team's problem. If they eliminated those two things, they were in this game. I mean, really, the defense did all right in the first half. Obviously, the third quarter was a completely different story for the defense, but the defense did all right in the first half. And this team is alive, has a chance in this game if they do better in the red zone, and if they don't allow a sack or a penalty or both to completely derail drives. All right, so the Bengals got the ball back with less than a minute to go and no timeouts. So their odds of scoring, getting the field goal range even, not very good to begin with. But any slight chance they had of doing that went away with this sack. So first down, they were able to pass the ball on Tate for 14 yards. All right, moving it along a little bit. And then with 38 seconds left, here we go. It's another sack. So once again, looking at the line and starting, with the right tackle, Bobby Hart, who's in man. He's got Watt. Watt basically clubs his arm straight down, right? Decent pass set. I could use a little bit more depth. Decent pass set by Hart. Watt clubs his arm right down, rips around the edge, and gets in there for the sack. So this one on Hart. All right, Hart loses to Watt on this one. But unfortunately, that is only a half sack because guess what? Bobby Hart isn't the only one screwing this up. So working back towards the left. All right. John Miller has got a 3 technique outside of him. That guy stunts the inside. Miller picks it up. A little bit on skates, but he's kind of, he's fighting it. He's hanging in there. Over on the left-hand side, the left tackle spot, that guy's not coming too hard. All right. Smith, again, not a great pass set, but that guy's kind of dancing around with him. So he didn't get there anyway. And now we go inside. So Trey Hopkins, he's working back. All right. And the center does this sometimes, when he's looking to help out and he's not sure where he's going to be. I don't love the technique, but I do see it a fair amount. So I think they're being taught it. Basically, he's kind of backpedaling. He splits his hands. Like he puts one hand out to the right and he's trying to help out Miller, and he puts one hand out to the left, and he's got he's got Cameron Hayward in that gap. Michael Jordan really just kind of gives a push in that direction, and then he's looking, from the left guard spot to help out on the edge if Andre Smith is having any problems. So really, I mean, at this point, Hopkins needs to be focused on Hayward. Hayward was an inside technique to begin with. He was a 2-eye inside of the guard, so he's the only player pre-snap that is in an A gap. He needs to be all over this. Really, Jordan should be too. Hard to tell all the time what they're being taught. So this sack is definitely on Hopkins. Probably also on Jordan too. If not, it's at least set up that he should have been able to help out or something. So, it's a half sack, but really, I mean, it ends up being kind of a third sack because both those guys and Hart are culpable in this one. All right, so here we're in the third quarter. The Steelers put together a nice drive, scored on their first possession, extended their lead to 17-3. So the game is starting to slip away. The Bengals really need to react and put something together. They come out, incomplete pass on first down, and now 2nd and 10, and we get a sack. So again, this is a 3-and-out, but also kind of derail the drive because it set up a 3rd and 21 situation for them. Starting on the right-hand side, Bobby Hart, all right, actually has a pretty decent little pass set. And, I mean, Watt's kind of jumping around, hopping around a little bit, but this is probably one of his better reps, particularly against TJ Watt. John Miller, the right guard, he has got a 3 technique, pretty wide 3 technique, but still a 3 technique outside of him. He sets to him. All right. And he does a pretty good job on it. Ends up getting a little bit of help late from Trey Hopkins. Over at the left tackle position, Andre Smith, he's got a wide rusher. He sets to him, sets pretty well. The guy ends up throwing a little spinning move on him, and it's pretty easy for him to pick up. Now, Michael Jordan, the left guard. All right. And, to put it simply here, he just gets out-muscled, out-powered. He's got no anchor. He's got to sink his hips, lower his hips in order to anchor himself, really hold himself down and prevent himself from getting pushed back. He steps to the inside initially. He's got Cameron Hayward who's lined up in a real tight 2-eye just inside of him. All right. Steps to him. Hayward starts to work to the outside. He actually adjusts pretty well, but he just gets too high. And then when Hayward brings it back and decides to push on him, get some extension, essentially he pushes him right into Dalton, and he gets the sack on that. All right. So the next sack was the one we already talked about. So we're not going to cover that again. That was the Uzama sack. That happened, and a couple of short plays later, that was a play that happened on first down. Second down, guess what? Delay a game. I don't know how you have a veteran quarterback taking delay a game, but that's what happened. So a delay of game. And then an incomplete pass. And now we're looking at 3rd and 20, a couple of short plays later. So we talked about they can't protect the quarterback when they need to. And here you go. This is a situation. They need to protect the quarterback in this situation. So starting on the right, all right, Bobby Hart, he doesn't have much going on here. Most of the defenders are to the left-hand side, all right? So he is just pass setting, gets a little bit, kind of a half of an arm of a chip assist from Joe Mixon. But he's got Watt there. As soon as Watt engages on him, he is getting bull rushed back into that quarterback. So this one doesn't end up being Watt's. Doesn't end up being on Hart, but man, it really could have. If if they had been able to hold off, if they didn't have problems elsewhere, they were going to have problems with Hart. Right guard Miller. All right, he doesn't have anything there. He is stepping to the left-hand side, looking in. We've got Devin Bush moving around a little bit, but that's not the guy that ends up coming. All right, there's a 4 technique lined up, heavy, all right, head up on Andre Smith, and that guy loops around. And Miller does a good job of picking it up. So then we've got Hopkins, all right? Now, this is another situation where it's on Hopkins, but it's also on Jordan. So Hopkins has got a player in his A gap to that weak side, all right? And that's the 2i who is actually lined up just inside of Michael Jordan. So Hopkins steps to the 2i and engages with him, all right? But now, I mean, he really doesn't have much behind him. He's giving up that gap. He's got to step a little harder to that gap. He's probably expecting some help there from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, though, he's watching that 4 technique from outside by the tackle loop around and ends up kind of getting in and pushing on Hargrave's back, but not providing any real support. Hargrave turns his body and is able to get back there. I don't even know if he ever actually disengages from this block. He just kind of gets a hand free and makes the tackle. So really, again, definitely on Hopkins, but I'd say also on Jordan here too. Jordan's got to do better. So definitely critical errors for both those guys. Sacks allowed for both those guys. Hart really could have allowed a sack here. If those guys were doing a better job, Hart's guy is also going to get there, or instead he's going to get there. So I can't really forgive that just because he got lucky. Andre Smith not really doing much from the left tackle position because the man he is eyeballing is just kind of dancing around and not actually coming on this one. All right, so that gets us into the fourth quarter. So now, I mean, this game is already out of control. All right, and the Bengals put together a drive that took them too long and ended up screwing up in the red zone. Killed a bunch of clock on it, and now we're looking at 3 minutes and 53 seconds left in the game. They've just got a first down a couple plays ago. But that was going for it on 4th down. So we're looking here at 2nd and 10. And again, we'll take a look and we'll start on the right-hand side. All right. Bobby Hart. He's pass setting. He's getting pushed back. That's not even Watt. I don't even know who that is. All right. It's not Watt. It's some third string guy that they have in at the end of the game here, throwing the dude a bone for working hard in practice all week. So, I mean, not good. I mean, it's not even Watt now. It's not even Watt. All right. Right guard, Miller. All right. He has got a 2i lined up inside of him. He steps to that guy. Hopkins steps to it as well. Miller's kind of eyeballing, seeing if he can help out Hart, but he can't help him out. Right? That guy's on the outside. Just like we talked about, Hart couldn't help out Uzuma with a guy on the outside. Miller can't do anything with this. All right? So he stays there with Hopkins. At the left guard, actually, we'll go with the left tackle first. At the left tackle position, we got John Jerry in the game at this point. All right? Not a good situation. Not even a tackle. And, this team in August had a limited amount of tackle bodies. And John Jerry ain't one of them. So Jerry's pass setting. Now, once Jerry came in, they started doing the things that they should have been doing all along to help out their offensive line. So that just tells you how bad John Jerry is at tackle. That after what we have seen from Hart and Andrea Smith in this game, with very little assistance, they're like, "Wow, John Jerry's in. We better help that dude." So John Jerry gets a not really even a chip from the running back here, and actually I think that's Gio. I don't think that's Mixon. So it's a double team. It's a straight up double team with the running back there, and the guys started to come around the edge. The running back is able to kind of stand him up and prevent that rush. So pretty good job there, and maybe something they should have been doing earlier in the game. Maybe something they need to be doing to help out. With Hart, even when they have Cordy Glenn back at left, that they need to help out Hart with stuff like that. Now, the big problem is inside. All right, and Michael Jordan pass sets, opens up the gate. All right, he has got, it's really a 4-eye, I'd say. All right, and that's Cameron Hayward. Hayward is out wide by the tackle, taking a wide approach at first, and Jordan totally bites. He opens up the gate on it, he turns his hips, and Hargrave does a great job taking his left arm and just extending it, getting Jordan really to turn his hips even more with that extension, and then just coming and ripping on through with that right arm. So, boom, get the extension, jolts his head back, and rips on through and off to the sack. All right, so the last play of the game, at least, really the last play of the game before the Steelers took a couple of knees. Fourth down, the Bengals actually managed to convert on that previous one we were talking about, but it's because they had 4 downs to do it. Fourth down, fitting that this game should really officially end with a sack. So, once again, starting on the right-hand side, Bobby Hart, right tackle. This is wide out there this time. Looks like they're trying to get him some help with the running back, but he actually kicks up pretty deep and gets into it. But once Watt gets his hand on him, Watt is bull rushing him into the quarterback. But again, Watt can't get there in time because somebody else gets there first. So inside at the right guard position, Miller stepping down. He's got a not stepping down. He's got a 3 technique there. The 3 technique kind of really like squares him straight up. And he's, getting pushed back a little bit, but fighting it. Hopkins kind of aware of the left-hand side, probably a little spooked. He thinks Bush is coming because Bush walks right in front of him, puts out a hand, doesn't really do too much until late when he comes in to help out Miller. At left tackle, once again, we got John Jerry out there. They're helping out John Jerry. So what do? They take Eifert and they do a serious chip on that defensive end to really widen him out, help out John Jerry on that. Again, why aren't we doing that to help out Bobby Hart? When you had Andre Smith in there, who's better than Hart anyway, at least it looks it. And now, Billy Price in at the left guard spot. So left guard, Billy Price, he's a guy that had looked pretty good in that spot. Jordan has not. People were wondering why Price wasn't in there. And certainly everything that was seen so far in this game would support that Michael Jordan should not be in there. But now Price comes in, and what happens? He's got a really, that guy's basically in the B gap. Kind of a wide 3 technique, but I guess a 3 technique. Price sets to him, and then he just kind of like ducks his head and throws his shoulder at him. Not striking, not using his hands at all. And it's real easy for this guy to get by him. And when I say this guy, I'm saying that because I don't even know who this guy is. Alua Lu, never heard of him. All right. And our first round draft pick is getting embarrassed by this guy at the end of a very long and very embarrassing evening. So, everything that you feared about the Bengals pass protection is correct. I mean, it was bad from start to finish. So hard to say who was worse. I mean, Hart, I believe was at 1.5 sacks there, but really could have been higher. Um, Hopkins, in a bad spot there as well. Jordan, multiple bad reps from him. So hard to break down what's necessarily on Hopkins, what's necessarily on Jordan, but you could definitely say multiple. They were related to multiple sacks there. Andre Smith gives up one. Billy Price gives up one in a very limited amount of reps. He also false started, I believe. And CJ Uzama gives up one. So overall, this is the problem. This is the big problem that needs to be solved. They tried to do something with it with Jonah Williams. It didn't pan out for this year. Hopefully that helps. But guess what? Jonah Williams isn't enough. They need to address this issue and go and get more guys, get more help on the offensive line, because what they are putting out there right now is not cutting it. They need to do better, and they need to, really, for this year to have any chance, they need to improve with the guys they have. So that's going to be coaching, that's going to be scheming, but they need to do a lot better with the group of guys that they've got out there right now. All right, so another week, another opponent, another winless opponent. Although they do have one tie in the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals have a rookie head coach as well, guy from an offensive background, Cliff Kingsbury, coming in from Texas Tech after a very, ever so brief stop at USC. He comes in, and this is a let's put in this offense, let's put in the air raid, let's throw the ball around. So they are going to come out in a lot of empty. They're going to come out in some quads formations. They'll motion to quads. So these are things that get put the defense really in a bind. It can be hard for them to line up to, and it's even harder when the team also has a mobile quarterback that you have to account for, in particular when you have backers that aren't fast. So this is a problem. This spells a definite problem for the Bengals. Now, against the Seahawks, the Cardinals drove down the field. They didn't come out in empty. They came out in a 2-by-2 formation, but they ran a quarterback draw on the 9-yard line. It got in with ease. And that's going against the Seahawks. Got a good defense. They've got perhaps the best middle linebacker in the NFL, and Bobby Wagner, and that guy's not figuring out how to keep Kyler Murray from taking a draw in for a 9-yard touchdown. So not good. Other things we had to worry about. So they really run a lot of the same run game that you see with many college programs. And I mean, honestly, this isn't a true air raid. They're doing some different things with 3 backs in the backfield, again, putting the defense in a weird situation. They are, doing some bunch stuff, which we'll see in a minute here. But jet sweeps are going to be something that they're going to come across too. And as we know, the Bengals have had problems with their edge. I've been talking about it all year. They don't line up very well. And to make matters worse, they don't have enough speed at linebacker to be able to get guys to those edge. So jet motion, jet sweep is going to be a problem as well. But they also do some kind of different stuff. So actually one play earlier in that game against the Seahawks, they're in the red zone. They came out under center, in a pretty tight formation with a bunch to the left-hand side. And they sent the widest receiver, Andy Isabella, in jet motion, and Kyler fakes the handoff to him. Then the tightest wide receiver, Christian Kirk, all right, the tightest wide receiver in the bunch, on the snap, he ran in that direction too, and he ran underneath Kyler Murray, and he actually took the handoff. So it went for about 6 yards. Essentially, there's a bit of misdirection involved here because Kyler's going the other direction. The running back, David Johnson's going the other direction. So the linebackers may be kind of biting on that. But essentially, it's the same sort of thing that we saw from Pittsburgh when they motioned one guy, faked the jet sweep, but then kind of pitched it to the guy underneath, and it gave that guy a cutback. So it puts them in a tough situation where if you start over pursuing, look, the Bengals had a big issue against the 49ers with their backside gap. It's going to be their backside cutback and really getting to the edge, but getting to the edge on the backside. And we saw how the 49ers use that kind of swipe play with the guy coming across, but then with the wing back coming across in the backfield, but then they'd log it around the defensive end and take it wide to the outside. That's what I'm afraid of here. This is basically a derivative of the salad reverse play, which is common. Those of you former triple option coaches or triple option players from high school, the salad reverse is something that they'll do for teams that are over pursuing, and that's really what this is. It's an updated version of that. So this is something not a huge part of their offense, but that would be something that I run against the Bengals, especially if we already had it in the playbook. So definitely something to watch out for against the Cardinals. As I said before, we'll see some of the college style run game, the zone read, and the zone read it's just deadly when you got an athlete like Kyler Murray in there. And especially given the athletes that we're matching up with, it's probably in the Bengals' best interest to have their defensive ends rush up the field and play on that quarterback and really force him to give it the vast majority of the time because they don't want their athletes trying to make plays out in space. They ran a zone read about midway through the first quarter against the Carolina Panthers, and they had a defensive back on the backside actually responsible for Murray, but Murray, really it was Bradbury. We all know, but that guy Murray, man, he made him look foolish because he's faster than you think he is. Like you can tell that. You can tell that players come in, they take an angle that normally works, and then it's like, woo, he's gone. So he's a smooth operator, and he's going to be able to get to the edge on stuff and put you in a bad situation. So keep the ball out of his hands. Let them give the ball. And then the other direction that they'll go with that. So when beyond the zone read, there's the zone triple, and it's just like triple option. They can bubble it. They can motion a guy in and do like a swing. They could have two backs in the backfield and do it. It's just creating a pitch man who's often, it's often going to be a throw though for them to work off of. So also, the second quarter against the Panthers, they ran a play like that. They had a 2-by-2 formation. It was pretty tight on the left hand side, but those receivers were split out to the right, and the back was beside Murray on his right in the backfield, and the defensive end, he stepped down. Murray pulls the ball, all right, and then out on the edge, there's two receivers as we discussed, all right. There's two receivers out there. Christian Kirk, it was the guy who was in the slot, and then they had Michael Crabtree, is no longer with them, but Michael Crabtree was out on the edge. So Michael Crabtree ran the now. All right, basically he took a step back and waited for the ball to come to him. All right, so not a bubble or anything, but it's the same philosophy here. And there were two defenders out there. So there's an invert player over the slot, pretty far up in there, but just inside the slot. And then there's the corner out there lined up on the widest receiver. So the slot, Kirk works out and goes up to the corner, right? Looks to get the block in the corner. That invert player, he stepped forward, all right? He's playing Murray. And as soon as Murray sees that, he whips the ball out there, and really kind of a ridiculous off-platform throw for Murray to whip that ball out there. But, this is just the sort of thing he can do. And Crabtree is not the ideal guy for this. Christian Kirk definitely isn't the ideal guy to be blocking out there for that. So it doesn't really amount to much for them. But it's something that the Bengals should definitely be aware of. So despite the name of the offense being air raid and what kind of the expectations there are, it's really the run game is potentially going to be a big issue for the Bengals. I didn't even mention Larry Fitzgerald, but obviously they've got Larry Fitzgerald. So they'll get the ball to him in the pass game, and he is still grinding away. Still one of the best in the league. But they got to be thinking about this run game too, because the run game has been their problem so far. And if Kingsbury is smart, he'll realize that, and he'll go to that in order to get his first win. So just like last week, somebody's got to win this game. So hopefully, as the Bengals, hopefully they can figure it out. The Cardinals' defense I didn't talk about, not very good, but the Bengals' offense we did talk about, not very good. I'm gonna stop right there before I go off on another tangent about that. But so somebody's got to win this week. So definitely room for improvement. The Bengals need to do a lot. Hopefully a better outcome against another winless opponent and rookie head coach with the Cardinals. I will be back next week and every week. Just in time for your Friday commute, Thursday night, Friday morning, we will have the podcast so you can download and listen. If you do listen, we throw in some interviews there as well, so a little bit of extra bonus content for you there. And if you're watching on YouTube, on Facebook, then you get the full extent of the video and you get to see things through yourself, and not just through my velvety speech and description of the play that's going on. That was weird. That's okay. So once again, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for listening, and go Bengals.